Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this Young Canada Works information session. I am Amber. I am the Community Engagement Lead here at the Museums Association of Saskatchewan. I would first like to acknowledge that I'm coming to you from Treaty 4 territory, and I am thankful for the ability to live, work, and gather on this land. MASS's work and support reaches lands covered by Treaties 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10, currently known as the Province of Saskatchewan, comprised of the territories of the Nehiyawak, Anishinabeg, Dene, Dakota, Lakota, Métis, and Nakota nations. We commit to explore our roles in nurturing meaningful relationships and building understanding. We dedicate our efforts to working together in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation. We are all treaty people. I would also like to address and remind everyone of MASS's Safer Spaces guidelines. MASS is dedicated to providing a safer space for everyone. And as we are coming here, we ask that you be mindful of that and be respectful of others. You can find the full guidelines on our website. So today I would like to say welcome from the Canadian Museums Association. We have Louise Pitre. She's here today to share some information and answer any questions you may have towards applying for YCW funding. There will be a short presentation with time for questions to follow. Louise, I will pass it over to you.
Great. I hope everyone can hear me. I'll just share my screen. Give me 1 second. There we are. And there. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see the slides
we can
okay.
see it.
Perfect. So as Amber mentioned, my name is Louise. Thank you everyone for coming to hear this presentation on how to craft a successful funding application for Young Canada Works in heritage organizations and Young Canada Works at Building Careers in Heritage. As Amber also mentioned, my name is Louise and I am a program officer with Young Canada Works at Building Careers in Heritage, as well as the communications liaison for YCW with the CMA. So my plan for today is to give an overview of YCW very broadly, but especially to give you some key points for you as you're preparing to submit an application for Young Canada Works funding for 25-26. So I'll provide a broad overview of the benefits of YCW for your organization, some tips on how to create a successful application and what to do, what to expect once you submitted your application. And just as a quick reminder, the application deadline for both streams of Young Canada Works will be Friday, December 17th by 12 midnight, whatever your time zone is. So what is Young Canada Works in general? It's a federal funding program that is offered through the Department of Canadian Heritage. It assists employers in the heritage sector to hire Canadian youth aged 30 and under for short-term work experiences. So successful applicants will receive funding to cover a percentage of the costs of salary, mandatory employer costs such as vacation pay, pension and employment insurance, and any other eligible expenses associated with the hiring of a Canadian youth for a limited term contract. So the shortest length that a contract can be is 6 weeks for Young Canada Works and Heritage organizations, and the longest would be 12 months for Young Canada Works at Building Careers in Heritage. So for the coming year, for 2025-2026, the maximum funding available for a position funded through Young Canada Works in Heritage organizations is $10,000, which is the same as it has been the past few years. And the maximum funding available for a position funded through Young Canada Works at Building Careers in Heritage is $15,000. Also the same as it has been for the past few years. And in addition, if you are applying for an international museology internship through YCW BCH, the maximum amount of funding would be $17,000 per position. And also if you hire somebody with a disability or who needs any kind of accessibility, which can include childcare, any sort of left-handed specific equipment, any kind of anything that would give them a support to be able to do their job, you can be reimbursed for up to $3,000 for any reasonable costs that are related to job accommodations. And in general, the benefits of Young Canada Works for employers include an opportunity to bring a fresh perspective into your organization, to complete, start, or continue a project that you haven't been able to get to provide short-term employment for Canadian youth, and to help develop and strengthen their skills in the heritage sector. So a quick overview of the two streams that the CMA administers of Young Canada Works. So Young Canada Works in heritage organizations and Young Canada Works at Building Careers in Heritage vary not only in the length of the work terms and in the amount of funding available, but also in the scope and types of projects that are undertaken. So a quick overview of YCW and heritage organizations. This funds short-term job placements for current, secondary, or post-secondary students. And the work term is between 6 weeks and 16 weeks in length. The main requirement is that the student participating must be a current student. So they should be enrolled in some sort of form of education, either high school or really any kind of post-secondary education, and that includes CEGEP as well. And also just to note that in past years, YCW in HO was only in the summer, but it can now take place anytime from April 1st to March 31st. So you're not bound by the summer, even though on the website it's still referred to as a summer program. It is in fact not solely a summer program. And then for the other stream, Young Canada Works at Building Careers in Heritage. This funds short-term job placements for post-secondary graduates. So the work terms are between 4 months at the minimum and 12 months at the maximum, although it's typically not possible to have a full 12-month long internship, just because of it would have to start on April 1st, which is difficult given when we're able to issue funding offers, but 12 months is the maximum for those. So for both streams, the youth participants have to be 30 years old or younger when the work term starts. They have to be Canadian citizens, permanent residents, or have refugee status. And for Building Careers in Heritage interns, they must have graduated from a post-secondary program. This can include CEGEP, certificate, diploma, or degree programs. So there's a lot of overlap between the types of jobs that you can have through BCH and HO. When you're planning your project, you'll want to think about the distinctions between them. HO positions tend to be a little bit more introductory because you may be hiring someone who's only 15 or 16. So they probably don't have a lot of experience, whereas with BCH, it's possible they have had training and actual experience with a heritage organization. But you can also request specific training if that's what you feel that the person will need to do the job. So it's entirely up to you to make specifications. But from the point of view of HO, it's really just current, secondary, post-secondary, and graduate. So the roles should be slightly different. BCH should have a little bit more autonomy for the role. They should maybe have a little bit more responsibility. There's also the objectives of each stream are slightly different. So the objectives for Young Canada Works in heritage organizations are to help youth find short-term employment in order to acquire knowledge and skills needed to work in the heritage sector, to increase their employability, to provide them with opportunities to network with heritage sector professionals, increase their knowledge and appreciation of significant local and national achievements, and encourage them to consider a career in the heritage field. For Young Canada Works at Building Careers in Heritage, the goals are to help youth find career-oriented internships in order to acquire knowledge and specialized skills in key areas that will help their transition into the labor market in heritage, arts, or culture, and to help them integrate into the labor force in heritage, arts, and culture after the internship, or continue to pursue postgraduate studies. And as a third option that I mentioned briefly a couple of minutes ago, there is the International Museology Internship, which is only offered through the Canadian Museums Association and is only offered as a Building Careers and Heritage internship. The maximum funding for that is $17,000. And this is if you have a project that has an association or your research needs are outside of Canada. Young Canada Works can fund a minimum of 4 months outside of Canada, and also covers the cost of transportation. And this can be anywhere in the United States. We've had a couple in France. We have one this current year, which is in Italy. So if you have any questions, it's quite broad. Do let us know. There's only 2 positions, internships available through this, however. So let us know if you have questions on the possibilities for the International Museology internship. So why is the Canadian Museums Association involved, and what exactly do we do? So we have been administering Young Canada Works since Young Canada Works started in 1996. We're one of a number of delivery organizations. The others are the Fédération des Milieux Documentaires, the Canadian Council of Archives, the Cultural Human Resources Council, and the National Trust. So when you go onto the website to start your application, you'll be asked to select the delivery organization. So you want to select the one that best fits either your organization or the role that you're applying for. So in our role as a delivery organization, we review applications. So the staff at the CMA review for eligibility of both the position as well as your organization. We issue the funding offers. We approve the candidates that you select, and we approve the budgets and keep them updated as things change. And we just generally guide the employer through the process from job funding application through to the final payment. So we really just support the employers and the youth so that everyone has the best possible experience with Young Canada Works. And we also review and screen applications to determine project and institutional eligibility. We have also a team of peer reviewers that we select who score the actual projects and review those. So it's a combination of the CMA team and the peer reviewers that determine the score for each application or each position applied for. So just to review eligibility for employers, the eligibility requirements are that you must be an incorporated nonprofit Canadian organization with a heritage mandate. You must be accessible to the public either virtually or in person, and you must be financially stable. So funding is based on both of the evaluations, and that's a process that takes about two or 2.5 months, I would say. So we'll get into how you apply. So once you've identified the project that you want and you've worked out the details and you've sort of fleshed it out a little bit, you determine which stream you want to apply through. So either Young Canada Works in heritage organizations, Young Canada Works at Building Careers and Heritage, or the International Museology stream. And you decide which delivery organization. Before you visit the YCW website and submit the application, you'll want to make sure you have everything sort of laid out. I always recommend that you do it first in a Word document. You can have a look at the application just to see what's requested or required, but definitely try to work it out first in a Word document and copy and paste it so you won't lose anything. The website tends to log people out. I would say it's supposed to be once an hour, but it can be quicker. So hence the tip of keeping it in a Word document. So getting started. So once you have created a YCW profile or you log into your old one, you will be asked to update your profile. You'll want to keep all of your applications and positions under one account if possible. So if your organization already has a profile, please continue to use the old one. It just makes everything a little bit more organized and clearer for us. So when you go to your profile, you'll have to do your update. And once you've done an update to your profile, it'll ask you to update your contact information. Then the button will appear for submitting a new job funding application. And that will appear on all of the pages. So you'll want to make sure you're in the correct year. So 25, 26. If you put it, you can still make an application for the current year. So you want to make sure you're not in 2024, 2025. So yeah, once you get to the point of submitting the application, you'll be able to see the list of questions that are required. And I just want to emphasize, so when you go in, this is what the sign-in page will look like. And I'm also just going to point out, some of you might have already dealt with the GC key, but some people may not have. So you'll want to make sure that you're in 2025-26, which is what appears here on the website in the top banner, and you'll see a blue banner on every page that gives you a hint of what year you're in. And we've now started multi-factor authentication for accessing your YCW profile every single time that you have to access it. So you may have already done this. If you've had a position in the past year, you will definitely have already done this. But if you're new to YCW, this might be something new for you. So you either need to create a GC key, or you can use your bank information to log in. It's pretty easy to create it. It'll walk you through the steps. But it can look strange if you just first encounter it and weren't expecting it. There's also an email address you can send any questions to if you do have any issues. So now for the project itself. So when you sit down to start thinking about it, you will see 9 subsections on the actual application that will help with your planning. So there is project and job objectives, measurable outcomes, descriptions of tasks, work plan, employability skills to be gained, candidate profile, orientation and training, supervision, and post-project. So you'll want to give detailed and thoughtful answers to each section, being as specific as possible. So plan out priorities beforehand, determine what you want to achieve from the project and how you will measure its success. So I'll just take a quick review of each section. So why is your project important? So for project and job objectives, the section of the application, you'll want to highlight what makes your project and your organization stand out. So why is this opportunity unique? How will it benefit your organization, the potential employee, as well as the larger community? So your community of visitors or the heritage community or your town. So why is this project valuable? Why should it be funded? So be very specific about these. So tell us about the background. So don't just say that you want to accession items or create exhibits or digitize something. Tell us why it is important to start now. Will the intern have an opportunity to develop their own exhibit? What role will the students' work play in the organization as a whole? Provide specifics on why your project is valuable to your organization at this moment. And it's always good to link it back to your mission statement as well. So projects for building careers and heritage should involve the intern in developing a project and give them some autonomy, as I was mentioning earlier. Projects for heritage organizations should help develop basic skills, but skills should be specific to the heritage sector. So stay away from any skills that are purely things like maintenance or cashier or food service. They can be part of the overall position, but it shouldn't be the entirety of the role for an intern. So it shouldn't just be like lawn maintenance or like, scooping ice cream, for instance. And then you come to the measurable outcomes section. And this again, it asks you to indicate the measurable outcomes of the project, describe how you expect to meet your goals, and how you will measure the success of this position. So you'll want to avoid words like many or just simply more. Like, don't just say we want to get more visitors, we want more items accessioned. You'll want to be as specific as possible. So you should have a sense of what success and progress will look like. Is there a specific number of items you want to be accessioned or cataloged? Is there an increase in enrollment in education programs of a particular percent, or perhaps a 50% increase in donation levels? But there should be a specific goal that is set out for this project. So having a sense of measurable outcomes will also help you when you are asked in the application to construct a project timeline where you're asked to set out milestones for the project. So you'll want to also The next section will be constructing your timeline. So under the job details, you're asked to create a work plan, which should include the tasks that the intern or student will be doing, as well as a detailed timeline. And of course, it doesn't have to be a day-by-day timeline. It's more focused on sort of milestone preparation. So in this section, you'll refer to your measurable outcomes by setting deadlines or milestones. So this will help with your planning, but it also indicates that you've given consideration to how you and the intern or student will be measuring your success. Provide a schedule with realistic timelines of how long tasks will take. The timeline should indicate any training that you'll need to provide to the student or intern, as well as their orientation to your organization. So you'll want to set out at the beginning enough time to make sure that the student or intern is accustomed to your organization and is familiar with it. So you'll need some orientation at the beginning. You can indicate as well when any specific events are taking place. Is there a specific launch or an exhibition opening or any other sort of community deadlines? And as with all the sections, of course, you'll want to be as specific and provide as many relevant details as possible. Yeah, and again, it doesn't have to be a day-by-day work plan. So you want to make sure that your application in general is aligned with YCW program goals, and you'll want to somehow indicate that in the application. So consider the goals of YCW, make it clear how your project aligns with at least one of these. So they are 3 goals: improve knowledge, skills, and practice in the heritage field, preserve heritage for current and future generations, and help the public access Canadian heritage. And on to candidates. So you'll be asked about a recruitment strategy, as well as just what you're looking for your candidate. So this goes beyond, of course, the eligibility criteria of student status and age and Canadian identity. So you'll want to identify what qualities or experience you're looking for specifically. So you can make more specifications. So any particular skills. So if it's a conservation position, if they require a specific language knowledge, if they will be asked to perform, like, is it an interpretive position? Anything like that. So you want to tailor the position to the amount of experience you're looking for and make that clear, as well as in the job poster that you will provide at the very end of your application. So you'll want to explain in this section as well how you will be conducting recruitment. So we want to encourage you to contact underserved communities and those who might not be in your regular might not be hit by your regular like social media. Because we do also have a travel reimbursement for those who travel more than 125 kilometers. It's certainly possible to reach out to people who don't live in your own community. They could be from another province, another city. So you can also reach out to other job boards. So some people just apply or post their job on the university or college near them, but you can certainly post more widely than that. And we also take a look at open recruitment, which again, the positions are meant to be available for all Canadian youth. So we try to make sure that it's not somebody who already works at your organization, for instance. And now onto the more tricky part, but really it's not anything that you wouldn't be thinking about normally. If you're hiring, you'll want to plan out a budget and make sure that you have the resources to support the new employee. So that the budget doesn't really ask any actual tricky questions, but it does sometimes get complicated when you have to do a breakdown of YCW funding versus your own funding. So you'll want to keep in mind what the maximum amount for each stream is. And YCW can contribute, not typically up to 100%. It's normally up to about 75%. So I would recommend you apply for the percentage that your organization needs, and don't apply for above what the maximum is for the stream that you're applying for. So you'll want to show, we'll go into more detail on this, but you'll want to show that you've put thought into all of the resources. So beyond just the wage and mandatory employer costs. So you'll want to put some thought into resources that you'll be using in terms of supervision and orientation, any training that you're providing. And this is especially the case for the Building Careers and Heritage stream, where there's a little bit more detail requested in the budget. And we also, of course, recommend that you keep your wage high in order to attract applicants. People tend to find applicants quicker with a higher wage. And we do have a handy wage guide that is available on our website, the CMA website, which indicates what a living wage is in your region, as well as what the current wages are. So it's just a useful tool when determining what wage to offer. And then supervision is also a key thing that our peer reviewers, most often have questions on when it's not a lot of information has been provided. So again, you'll want to be very, very detailed when crafting your supervision plan. So YCW students, as well as interns, require dedicated mentorship and supervision in order to develop their professional heritage skills. So you'll want to let us know who will be responsible for supervising them. And what will the proposed process be? So how often will you have meetings? What form will the supervision take? If it's a remote position, especially like how will you be providing mentorship? Will they be getting any sort of professional development opportunities? Will they have memberships in any, excuse me, professional organizations? So we just want to see that you've put thought into developing a supervision plan so that it's clear that the person will be well supported in their role. Again, so professional development is a key part for both streams. So you want to describe how you're going to be helping the potential employee with their professional development, because as mentioned, skill development and prepping the student or intern for future work in the heritage sector is really a key part of the program. So it's really designed to help youth develop skills that they'll need to join the heritage sector professionally in the near future. And we want to know that your project is going to give them the tools that they need to become future colleagues. So consider if there's any local associations that your student or intern can join, any events that are coming up at other organizations. Will there be networking or mentoring opportunities? Are there any online or in-person courses that they can take during the internship or work term? And especially consider any costs or other resources that will be involved in this process and reflect those costs in your budget. And so this job equity strategy applies for just in general, but also we'll be expecting you to include this in your job poster, which is again an important part of the application and will appear at the end of the application. And that is, the job poster is what gets posted on the YCW website if your position is funded. So that's why for us it is important, because that is what any applicants will see when they're looking for work on the YCW website. That is how they'll learn of the experience. And you can also, of course, use the job poster for posting on other job boards. But we definitely want to see a job equity statement because Young Canada Works is a federal program and job equity is taken very seriously. So we want to show the students and interns that everyone is welcome to apply for this position and join your organization. It can be very simple, as we are an equal opportunity employer and encourage applications from all qualified candidates, or you can provide more detail. So in the recruitment section, as already mentioned, you'll probably want to include ways in which you will be reaching all the eligible candidates, including anyone with a disability, etc. And we also have on one of our resources is a job poster, short tutorial on our CMA YCW resource page. So just as a final sort of reminder, we always encourage, again, everyone to put their application in a Word document, save it, and then transfer it over to the YCW website, just to avoid it getting lost potentially. If you get logged out and haven't managed to save each page, you can save each page log out and come back to it, but sometimes it'll log you out before you actually hit save. And just a quick review of the timeline that you can keep in mind, so that you have a sort of sense of when positions can start, and when they might be able to end. So applications open every year, typically in November. So that has already happened, of course, about a month ago, and they will be closing in January. So this year it is January 17th. So from January 17th, for the following 10 weeks, both the peer reviewers and the CMA YCW team will be reviewing and screening applications. And so by end of April, early March, we do hope to get out the decisions on funding, and that can be sort of a longer process. We often have a wait list. So unfortunately, it's not, everyone doesn't find out immediately. It is a little bit better now that we have, it used to be 2 separate envelopes that we found out about months apart sometimes. So, but now it is all in one, but for this year, thankfully. So everyone should be able to find out at once. But again, it's a long process because people have to write back to us. Some people don't want the funding. So we usually have a wait list. So it's just a bit of a longer process. So starting April 1st, I guess the main takeaway from that is that having a position that starts April 1st is definitely not a guarantee. I would say May, some positions don't start until June. We have positions in BCH that sometimes don't start until fall. But it's pretty flexible in terms of when you're able to start, from the perspective of YCW in any case, as long as you meet the minimum and maximum requirements for each stream. So that is really all that I have for the presentation. This is just where you can find our website, so museums.ca, our contact information, and just some general overview. So yeah, I am very happy to take questions.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you, Louise. I'm just going to put in the chat a link from the employer's guide.
Oh, thank you.
Just because I had that saved here too as well. And if you do have any questions, you're welcome to type them in the chat. I'll do my best to moderate them. I know I do have a question. Somebody actually had to step away.
Okay.
And the question itself was, has anything changed since last year that we should pay any special attention to?
That's an excellent question. I mean, there aren't too many changes from last year. There are new employment and employer guides. Let's just see. Why am I not seeing in the chat? You got both employer guides there?
Just the one, I believe.
Oh, sorry, I don't know why I'm not seeing. Yeah, it is January 17th. Thank you. Oh, here we go. So I don't know why it's not scrolling for me, but anyways, yeah, I can post. I'll just see which one you posted. Why is it not working for me? So there should be 2. So the new thing for this year is that the employer guide, which used to be 1 document, is now Young Canada Works in Heritage Organizations and Young Canada Works at Building Careers and Heritage. So they have 2 separate employer guides. So I'm not sure which one did you post? Did you just post one?
This is the Young Canada Works at Building Careers and Heritage.
Okay, I'll post the other one.
I believe so. It's the one I posted. Let me check. Yeah. Perfect.
So I find it a lot clearer when it's been divided up. I think it's less confusing for people. No, I mean, essentially it's the same. The eligibility criteria are certainly the same. Did the person have a specific thing they were wondering, oops, if there was a change from?
No, I think it was just addressing if there was anything major that we should watch out
Definitely
for,
nothing
but
major. No, I mean, the eligibility criteria are the same. I mean, obviously the deadline is slightly different. It should basically be the same.
Um, and just to go back to what you spoke on, so this is not necessarily just for summer jobs. This is for any time of year.
Correct, yes. So April
Okay.
1st is the first day that they're able to start, and March 31st is the end date. It's the government fiscal year, so that's why it's not January to December 31st, but yeah.
No, that makes sense. Does anybody else have any questions for Louise here? You're welcome to turn on your microphone or raise your hand or type them in the chat. No, pretty clear. Um, we do have here our in attendance is our Sarah, our museum's advisor. And as part of her role, they track the advisory questions that come in. And we did supply some of these questions to Louise prior to this. I don't know if there's any you have that you'd like to address, Louise, or I can kind of pick one or two.
Um, I mean, I can go with the top one because it kind of relates to what I was saying. So somebody, it looks like from a few years ago, said that they were asked to elaborate on their work plan and candidate profile. So what do they need to include? So that is a fairly common thing, and that's why like not all of the funding offers go out immediately, like on it. They don't all go out on the first day because oftentimes the peer reviewers reviewing will say, well, this section doesn't have enough detail, we want more information, which is why I emphasize like making sure you're including as much detail as possible. So we'll go back to the person, we'll go back to the person who sent in the application and say, can you please provide us with more detail on this and this? So it's usually, I think like supervision is probably a common one, but work plan definitely sometimes needs a little bit more detail. So that's just sort of another reminder to make sure that you've really thought it through and put all of the details in, because it will reduce the chance that we'll have to come back to you with questions at the end and then delay the funding.
That makes sense for sure. Um, I was wondering more on some of the specifics when you're logged into your profile or trying to, trying to log in, but also asking to verify your institutional profile. I'm not sure if that's something you can answer, and or is there a contact that people can reach out to if they're having trouble with the portal itself?
Well, that in that case, it wouldn't necessarily be an issue with the portal, but yeah, I mean, I would say contact whoever your delivery organization contact is, because typically it's not really an issue with the portal per se. But let me just see. Hang on, it's asking me to sign in again. So it will every year, it will ask you, it will want you to update your profile. So you'll need to make sure, because it just wants to confirm that there haven't been updates to your like contact information, for instance. So I'm just gonna try to log in, but it's just the information that has already been provided. So it's really just confirming what has already been submitted. So there shouldn't really be like too much confusion with it, because it's typically just like who the contact person is, what their email is, what their name is, what their position is. But let me just, but
Yeah.
if you don't do that, it won't let you go on to the next step of submitting the application, or it won't give you
Okay,
the option to open.
so
So-
you're able to, because we know a lot of our members, especially being volunteer run, these positions can change like hands, like these contact positions. Is that something you can edit as soon as you kind of go into the profile?
Yeah, you definitely should edit that. So for instance, I'm looking at one right now. So I just logged in and impersonated. So the first thing it comes up on the dashboard is a banner that says a new program year has been enabled and a new question has been added to the bottom of section 1. Please review and submit your profile. So so
So
really
that's
this
where
one,
those changes can be made.
Yeah, so it'll show you, it even highlights where you need to go. So it's not like it's I mean, and if they should know who the contact is so they can update that. You can edit your profile anytime. So we have my profile, there's a privacy notification, which doesn't, you just need to click that you've read it. Organization information just includes the basics like the legal name. You need to have the mandate and mission of your organization and just the details like the year it's founded, the business number, whether or not you're registered with the Canada Revenue Agency, how many people work there, your main sector, the language you use. Let's see. So it's fairly basic information, your mailing address, telephone number, email address, who the head is, what language you want your correspondence. So typically you just have to confirm all of this. And then the last page is the review and submit. So once you've reviewed and submitted, then it will appear. The option to apply for the next funding year will appear.
Okay, great. Erica, yeah, do you have a question?
Hi, yeah, thanks for the presentation. I had two questions. One is quite small, and that's, do you happen to know if we can use the Authenticator app on the multi-factor authentication process, or do we need a cell phone?
I'm sorry, what was the first part?
So to get access to our account, I know how to, I did apply before, so I know how to do it. It's just that I don't right now have a cell phone, and I'm wondering how the multi-factor authentication works and if you use the Authenticator app, because I can get in that way if possible.
It goes to your email address.
Oh, email, perfect. Then
Yeah.
I'm good. Okay. Thank you. My other question was actually I see it's also in the chat, but it's about the two different, the Heritage Organization and the internship program. If we have a position, potentially a position that could fit in both, I'm wondering how to make the decision on which to apply for. Like it's 4 months, it has a decent amount of responsibility. It could fall under the sort of the summer job one, or it could fall under the internship. I'm just wondering, do you have any tips on how to choose which one might be the best fit?
That is an excellent question. I think it would depend on what the position is. I mean, if it fits in both, like if you want somebody who has experience, who's graduated, who's a little bit more mature, or if you're looking for basic, if you're giving them basic tasks that they don't need to have experience for. Although in BCH they shouldn't have to have had experience, but they're usually a little bit more mature, but not necessarily. So it's really hard to say. What is the specific job, if I can ask?
Well, in the past, we have had last summer, for example, we had Young Canada Works students, which was great for the summer. We do a summer camp program, and they had quite a bit of responsibility actually and creative input into the programs. So it felt senior, more senior than just a teenager coming in for a camp program. But we've also previously had internships. It was actually during COVID, and that was amazing. And I got very senior, excellent students. And I think they had a great time too. So that was wonderful. And one, in fact, still works for us. This particular year, we had been considering, and Andrew, who's on the call too, is our program coordinator with the Museum of Natural Sciences at the University of Saskatchewan. And we'd been considering, we also run a field trip program in May and June. So there's potentially a good opportunity for a student, or sorry, not a student, but a young person who's graduated to take on, well, yeah, I don't want to limit. So anyone young, to take on a role that has more, that might also be doing administrative work in terms of the field trip program development with school groups, but also with the public kids who come through the camp program. We need to look at our own budgets to figure out if operationally we can sort of fund the other part of it. But we've just been kind of throwing that around a bit, and it felt like a more senior position. And when you described the internship program, it feels like a better fit. I don't know.
I mean, I might be biased though, because I do work for the Building Careers and Heritage stream, but there's also it does have an extra, there's more funding available for building careers and heritage.
Got it.
15,000 versus 10,000. And I mean, one of the differences, of course, you're definitely very encouraged to offer mentorship and, you know, a lot of supervision time to HO students, but BCH tends to be more focused on like the mentorship aspect. So if that's
Mhm.
something this person will be receiving, I would say it sounds more like building careers and heritage. But again, it's, you know, I mean, it's not discouraged to mentor HO students. So
Right, yeah. There would definitely, we're a small team, and I know
Yeah.
Andrew would be working very closely with this person. There'd be a lot of mentorship for sure.
Okay, yeah, I find that the building careers and heritage, like the application does require a little bit more emphasis on the budget, a little bit more thought into those sorts of resources. So, I mean, I would lean towards the BCH internship rather than HO, but I mean,
Okay.
especially given if you are thinking that possibly you might want to extend it. I don't know if that's a possibility, but
Yeah, it
I would
depends on funding from other sources too, so
Yeah.
it's hard to know, but it's just, yeah, thank you. That answers my question. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Okay.
it.
I guess the answer is it could be either, but I personally would recommend building careers and heritage because it sounds like it would qualify, would be eligible.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any other questions?
Kate, does that answer your question regarding the difference between the HO and BCH? Or did you have any other specific? I know you addressed, Louise, the, you know, roles and responsibilities. It's, you know, is there role expectations and the difference between the two?
Okay, perfect. Looks like it's good. And I see Diana asked a question about the deadline. It's actually January 17th, not December 15th. So you still have over a month, and you're very welcome to email me with any questions on supervision.
Perfect. And we'll send out if, because we didn't do registration, I don't have necessarily everybody's email addresses. So if you would like a copy of this recording, I can email it to you directly. It will be uploaded to our YouTube as well. And I'll make sure to include any of the contact information. And Louise, we're welcome to share your contact information with any of our members regarding
Oh
any
yeah,
questions
please
they may
do.
have. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not letting me scroll up, so I can't see if there are other questions, but were there any questions I've missed that are in the chat?
It
Very strange.
doesn't look like it.
Okay. So sorry, I don't want to like not answer someone, but it's,
Nope,
I think
that's okay.
my computer is not letting me. Oh, there's a message. Oh, in the recordings, that's a good idea. I'm just looking at the other questions that you had sent. Someone mentioned their summer student was having issues creating a profile. They can contact us, like if any of the youth are having issues, they can always contact either your program officer or you can email YCW. I'll put that in here. I know it was in my slides, but may not have caught it. For any sort of general issues, if someone isn't having access or having issues with anything, as long as it's not, if it's the GC key, it should go to the coordinator email if it's like an issue with the website, but if it's something that we can probably help you with, please feel free to email us.
Okay. So that was the YCW at museums.ca.
Yes, that's the
Okay.
general YCW sort of question. But you should all get assigned, once funded, a program officer who would be your contact person.
Okay.
And we're always happy to help either the youth or the employers with any issues. But honestly, the main question or the main issue, I think, is people being in the wrong year because the website, it's not, I mean, it's somewhat clear if you know where it is, if you know where to look for the year, but if it's not something, you know, that you're probably not thinking about because it's not on most websites. So people miss it. So that's why I always like to emphasize, like, make sure you're in the correct year because people will go in, they'll be in 24, 25, and they'll be like, oh, my application is gone. I'll just start over. And then they have like 8 applications in the wrong year. So you just want to make sure you're logged in and then you select the correct year for your application. It's more confusing if you have a project going on now and then you have to switch back and forth, but
Perfect. No, that makes sense. And yeah, so with your application, and then you said upon success of your application, you will receive contact with the program officer.
Yeah.
So watch out for that as well. And then we have the general information. So once we get this uploaded, I'll have some more information and some of these links that were shared here to make sure those are included there as well. I'll include that in emails.
I can
Feel free
include the
to email
slides as
me
well.
at community@sassmuseums.org
Mhm.
if you want to email directly. Yeah, sorry, Louise.
Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say I can also send you the slides. I have a PDF of the slides if that's helpful.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, awesome. Okay, well, I think we will let everybody have a couple more minutes left of their lunch hour on their own. So thank you again, and thank you, Louise.
Thank you everyone for coming. It's great. Have a good rest of your afternoon.